Hello, class. Well, we're back with another exciting algebra video here from Ms. Liskowski. Remember, in our last lesson, we multiplied fractions. Okay, we were multiplying fractions mainly by whole numbers because that's one of the things that you need for this unit. It's a basic skill you need for algebra. Well, today we're going to be learning about the vocabulary needed for relations. Now, these are all mathematical relations. This probably will not help you with your significant other. However, I will tell you in my own experience, understanding how to use the phrase, yes, dear, can be critically important, and that's after 18 years of marriage. Okay, so we have a lot of new vocabulary in this section. First word you want to get down in your note sheet is relation. And a relation is simply a set of ordered pairs. Okay, anytime you have a set of ordered pairs, you have a relation. Well, what's a set of ordered pairs, you ask? Glad you asked. Ordered pair, that's going to be a set of numbers or coordinates written in the form x, comma, y. Okay, so if you see something that's going to have parentheses, a number, comma, another number, close parentheses, that is an ordered pair. Okay, and these are coordinates. We'll talk a little bit more about what coordinates are later, but that would be an ordered pair. Mapping. Mapping is going to be one of the ways that we can show a relation. And that is a graphic illustration of how each element or each number in the domain is paired with an element or number in the range. I know it sounds pretty complicated. It's not bad. Typically, a map's going to look something like this. You're going to have a set of numbers here. This could be a square. This could be an oval. Could be anything like that, where you're going to have, you could have something here that looks, could be something like this with this, okay, and then some lines connecting here. Okay, it doesn't matter whether it's an oval or a rectangle or whatever, but it's a graphic illustration of how each element in the domain, okay, this left column here is the domain. We're going to talk a bit more about that in a second. And this is the range. So it's mapping, literally taking one element in the domain and mapping it to an element in the range. Okay, so you can see here -2 is mapped to 4. -1 is mapped to 6. 0 is mapped to 6. 1 is mapped to 8. 2 is mapped to 8. That's all that a mapping is. Okay, we just saw it a little bit, our domain. Okay, we saw it in our last slide. The domain is going to be the set of all the first numbers of ordered pairs. That's the input, the independent, or the x values. So remember we said for an ordered pair, we had two values here. We had an x, okay, and we had a y. Okay, all the x values. So take all the x values, that is going to be my domain. Well, the range then, let me clear that out of your way. The range then is going to be the set of all the second numbers in the ordered pair. Okay, these are the output, the dependent, or the y values. And we saw again in our table illustration, we had our domain, we had our range. So if we look here, these would all be our x values. These would be our y values. Okay, we had our x and y. If we were to look at those as ordered pairs, you would have x, y. Okay, so for instance here, I'll get -2 and 4 as a pair because -2 goes with 4. I could write that as -2, 4. I could also have -1, 4. Okay, because this arrow here is something that -1 goes with 4. I could have 0, 6. Okay, I would also have 1, 8, and 2, 8. X values here, the domain, y values there, the range. Okay. Okay, a few more terms you want to be familiar with. Independent variable. Independent variable. Independent variable is going to be the variable that determines the output. The variable that determines the output. And then, of course, if you've got an independent variable, you're going to have the dependent variable. Okay, so the dependent variable is the variable that is affected or caused by the independent variable. So let's say, for instance, you are driving. Okay, you're driving along and you have your time and how far you drove, your time and your distance. Well, your distance doesn't determine how long you drove. How long you drove determines how far you went. Okay, the longer you drive, the farther you go. Okay, and so distance would be the dependent variable, and there the time would be the independent variable. So time would be independent there, and then distance would be dependent. Now this gets kind of confusing with all the different terms I'll throw at you. You got a couple boxes there in your note sheet. In one, get these down because these all go together. The independent variable, that's going to be your x value. It's going to be your domain. It's going to be the left column in a mapping. Okay, if you have a table that's organized horizontally, it'd be the top row. It's the first number in a coordinate pair. And when we get to graphing, it's also going to be the horizontal axis. In your other box, put down this. Your dependent variable is going to be your y. It's going to be your range. It's going to be the right column if you have a vertical table or a mapping. It's going to be the bottom row if you have a horizontal table. It's going to be the second number in an ordered pair. Okay, it's going to be the vertical axis when we're graphing these on the coordinate plane. Okay, so that's a lot of terminology. That's a lot of different things to go together. Okay, last slide. We have, okay, this should be a review. You should have seen this before. We have our old friend here. Okay, this is a special thing. We call this the coordinate plane. Coordinate plane. And again, this could be as large as you want to make it. The one that we normally see in class is -10 to +10 on the x and -10 to +10 on the y. You can make them infinitely large, infinitely large. If you want to do some research, it's a pretty cool thing. It was created by a guy named René Descartes, a French dude. He was actually laying in bed trying to follow the path of a fly on a ceiling. He wanted to know where it was, so he came up with what we call the Cartesian coordinate system. Okay, so this is the coordinate plane that he came up with. Few quick things you want to know here. Okay, this first line, this horizontal axis going right and left and right, okay, this is your x-axis. This is going to be the first number in your coordinate pair. Okay, you also have the y-axis, okay, labeled here with the y. This is the vertical up-down axis. It's the second number of the coordinate pair. And when we're graphing, you're going to start here at the origin. It's the center point on the coordinate plane. You're going to start here to graph everything. So for instance, if I wanted to go ahead and graph the coordinate pair, let's say I wanted to do 3, 2. Okay, 3, 2. Well, I'm going to start here. I'm going to go over 1, 2, 3, and then up 2, and I'm going to be right there. Okay, let's say I wanted -6, 3. Oh, by the way, let's call that point A. I'm going to label that right here, point A. Okay, I'm going to call this point C. So -6, I'm going to start here at the origin. Always start at the origin. I'm going to go -1, 2, 3, 4, 5, -6. Okay, right there with the -6. And I'm also going to go up 1, 2, 3. Okay. And that would be point C. Got it? Let's say one of the places that people get messed up with, let's say I want point P, and I've got 0, 7. Well, 0, 7, I start here. The 0 tells me I'm not going to go anywhere right, left, but I'm going to go up 7. Okay, so that's going to put it right about there. Okay, that'd be point P. And maybe I've got point T. Okay, so maybe I have this point -4, 0. Well, I'd start here. I go -4 on my x, but then I don't go anything up or down. So that would be right there, and that would be point T. Okay, so that's a lot there on graphing in the coordinate plane. Well, that's going to wrap it up for these notes. A lot of new words. I hope you took time to write down, put down the examples, things like that. If not, go back, rewatch it, make sure your notes are complete. Go ahead and do the practice problems. And in the next lesson, we're going to learn how these come together in relations. And of course, as always, If you have any questions, see me in class. Thank you.